You might not always be utilizing AAA. You might have clear text passwords in your configuration file. You might want to control how management traffic enters your particular Cisco device. In this nugget, we'll take a look at these various odds and ends when it comes to controlling access into the device. So we begin with a little review of really kind of CCNA material, but always good to kind of review this stuff to make sure that you fully understand it and you wouldn't get caught in a situation where, oh my gosh, I use AAA. I would never try and control access to a Cisco device using these earlier mechanisms. So here on R1, remember the lines in the console, the aux, the VTY lines, we can control those pretty easily if we're not using AAA. So I'll go to line VTY 0 to 4, and we will set a password. When you set a password, that does nothing. We need to say that password needs to be checked at login. I would say this login command right here is one of the most misunderstood commands in all of Cisco networking. Obviously, someone would say, well, geez, if I say no login, I'm preventing logins at that particular console, or in this case, the virtual terminal lines. And the answer is no, you're letting everybody in. So login versus no login can get pretty confusing. Login saying we are going to have that locally significant, if you will, password checked when the user tries to get in via Telnet. Now, of course, there's something pretty disturbing about this, and that is if we do our show run, we will see in clear text that password. Just like if we were to set the old school enable password on the device, we would see that in clear text. So where is it? There's our enable password in clear text. By the way, the enable password is another misunderstood command. You often see the documentation state that enable password instead of enable secret. And let's real quickly review that. So if I do enable secret and I set a password and it says, oh, yeah, it's the same as our enable. We should probably set something different. Okay, Cisco, no problem. 1, 2, 3. So now when we do our show run, we see that there is a nice MD5 hash on the enable secret. The enable password, there's nothing. And when you read the documentation, it says that the enable password is for backwards compatibility. What does that mean? Backwards compatibility? Well, what it means is if you took this config and you placed it onto a device that didn't support enable secret, then you'd at least have an enable password. This gets kind of silly since there aren't many devices that we can find anymore in production that wouldn't support the enable secret. The enable secret's pretty basic, pretty ubiquitous when it comes to our Cisco equipment. But we've got lots of clear text passwords, specifically 2 in this configuration right now. The enable password and, of course, that password that we placed under the VTY lines. So you know how we're going to guard against that. And it's service. And look at this. See that? I haven't done this in so long, I'm struggling with it a little bit. So that's why it's great to review this early information we learned. I think it might be not global configuration mode. No, it is global configuration mode. Here we go. Service. And let me get some context-sensitive help. There is a space. Password encryption. There we go. So it's global configuration and it's service space password hyphen encryption. Gotta love the context-sensitive help system. And yes, you could leverage that all the time when you are configuring in your lab exam environment. So now we do our show run, and what we see is there's this level 7 hashing that's done on those formerly clear text passwords. Every time I say formerly, I think of the artist formerly known as Prince. Weird. So, great. It's super weak encryption, but it beats the alternative, and that would be for you to have absolutely no hashing, no encryption done whatsoever on those particular passwords. Now, one of the funny things that comes up here from a written exam perspective, I think more than the lab exam perspective, is the fact that if we do a no service password encryption, and then we do a show run, we see that that does not reverse the encryption that was done. So keep that in mind. If we go in now and we set up a new one, like line console 0, password Cisco, check it at login, and we do a show run, let's begin line console 0, we can see that that one does not get any encryption. And that's because we put that one in after disabling the service password encryption. So that's more of a written exam kind of gotcha to watch out for. From a lab exam perspective, remember, whenever we're talking passwords, I don't care if it's AAA or what we're doing right now, you got to be extremely careful. Because remember, we're again talking about ways in which we can lock out the proctor. And even if it is relatively easy for them to get in, they won't try. Lock them out. It's an easy way to fail. Okay, so let me climb down off that soapbox and let me go ahead and show you a feature that I find many of my students are not familiar with, and it is so easy, so slick, so cool. It's going to save you so many access control lists, so many potential headaches. It's called Management Plane Protection. It's really part of our control plane policing feature that I'm going to elaborate on for you in a particular nugget. But I'm so glad we separate things out here and make them simple at CBT Nuggets. So let's review show, run, and I'll say begin, and we want to begin at line VTY. So I put a password in. I said, please check that password for the login process, that local password. So if I slide over to a neighboring device, I should be able to telnet into this system. And look at this. It says, okay, yeah, no username, just that line password. I provide it, and we're into R1. That's kind of scary because we know that Telnet is not the most secure, to say the least, of protocols. So what we're going to do is we're going to totally control management access to this particular device. Watch how easy it is. We go into global configuration mode and we say control plane, control-plane host. Now, we'll get into that specific command and what's going on there when we get into control plane policing. But for right now, let's just memorize control plane host in order to do our management plane protection. We do indeed say management-interface in this control plane host configuration mode, and now we can specify an interface on the device and the management protocols that are permitted. Everything else from a management protocol perspective on this device will be denied. How cool is this? So I'm going to say, look, the management interface is Fast Ethernet 0/0, and on that interface, we want to allow SSH, let's say, and we want to allow Simple Network Management Protocol, and let's be realistic, maybe HTTPS management as well. We end this configuration. Notice it says, okay, look, you just enabled the management interface feature for control plane host path. This is a huge change you just made because now those management protocols, HTTPS, Simple Network Management Protocol, and SSH, that's it. That's it, and it's only on the Fast Ethernet 0/0 interface. So other interfaces are going to block those management protocols, and to prove this, let's go ahead and try and telnet into the device. The telnet's going to hit Fast Ethernet 0/0, but the problem is Telnet is not one of the allowed management protocols. So if this works, R2 should no longer be able to telnet. I'll go over to R2, up arrow on the keyboard, and look at this. Telnet is indeed blocked because of the very simple but powerful management plane protection that we have initiated. Now, in order to undo this, no problem, you would go into your control plane host. I would just up arrow on the keyboard, and I would negate this with the no in front of it. And that's it. It'd be that simple to turn it off. By the way, to verify if this is on a particular device, we do show management interface. And it says, yes, we are indeed protecting Fast Ethernet 0/0. Probably a better way to say that would be, yes, we are indeed enabling management traffic only on Fast Ethernet 0/0, and it's only for HTTPS, SSH, and Simple Network Management Protocol. Wouldn't it be a fun troubleshooting exercise for Cisco to give you to put something like this in place and then tell you you have to enable, Telnet or something? That would be fun, wouldn't it? Sure. And here you are trying to Telnet it's not working. You're looking for access control lists. There are none on the device. They've put management plane protection, though, in place, and you should know to look for something like that, I suppose. So in this particular nugget, we had a great time looking at some of the real basics of access, like a line password in the VTY lines in this particular demonstration. We talked and revisited service password encryption, and then, I think most importantly, we took a look at the management plane protection features that we have started showing up about iOS 12.4. I sure hope this nugget was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.